slide, we need to recheck it. Hello, those who are joining online. Mr. Solanke, can you give us a thumbs up?
Minute and
We are just starting in a few minutes.
yes. No, if you make fully here.
La freccetta.
Will be full there.
Please.
La freccetta.
Okay, this is, and you go ahead. Okay. Good morning. I'm Stefano Mannacio from COBASE, which is an independent scientific body. And today I am the moderator, and I will make a short introduction about the title of our side event, which is Vegan Cities for Climate Change Targets, Agroecology, Energy Efficiency, and Cultural Diversity. Please, next. We have to take into account these issues. By 2050, 70% of population will be living in cities. Next. Cities, there are many people, they are still skeptical about global warming and climate change, especially outside IPCC around. But for sure, cities and urban system suffers of climate change. This is an example of urban heat island. So for us, for COBASE, cities must be and could be the key driver for climate change solution. I would like to summarize our idea of a project which is entitled Electrical Cities and Agroecological Parks, that is combining energy efficiency, biodiversity, and agroecology. Because, next, the normal flow, the business as usual flow of urban system management, food coming from outside, the production and the transformation inside the urban areas, waste and a small part of recycling, is not sustainable. Next. Next, please. Is not sustainable also if we are taking into account the cycle of food production. The business as usual idea, the cycle is agriculture, factory farming, intensive farming. We have to take into account that 70% of items coming from agriculture is used to feed animals. That is not sustainable in our idea. And urban areas are one and will be one of the most producer, the most important producer of climate-alterant gases like CO2 and NOx. We think next that the most important changement of loop is to make agriculture inside cities, to use organic agriculture coming from small farmers from outside, try to recycle as much as possible waste inside urban areas. This is the virtual, the good loop to make urban areas a good example for climate change alleviation inside cities and outside cities. Next. And some key points that will be discussed in the other intervention will be in the rural areas, preserve and restore traditional knowledge, support the transition of petrochemical-based industrialized farming into an ecological-based model, preserve and restore rural lands and water system, avoiding further degradation, and preserve and renew the economies and society to rural communities. And for the city, try to skip and to alleviate the problem, social problem, and waste problem, and climate change problem. This is a view. For example, this is a project for Milan. Is a scenario. Is a project of green belt inside the city, and this is a scenario, a good scenario. Or we prefer this. This is another picture. This is a good scenario of not a green, a good system, urban system, or we prefer this. We have to take into account also that economy is a subsystem of ecology, and urban areas in the future will be really the key driver of climate change solution. I would like to show you the last but not least picture. Why the title vegan? Vegan because in urban areas we have to take into account that in urban system there are in all the state more freedom of ideas, movement, trade union, but we have strict laws about, for example, movement, speed limit very strong, traffic limits, cooling limits, eating limits. So there are a limitation of there are rules that establish in urban areas some limits that are not limits in the countryside. So it's not a problem for us to imagine that urban areas, according to young people, to movement, to ideas, could be vegan. It's a trend, of course, a trend in a freedom way. But I would like also for our Indian friends, but also because it is an example. There is a city in India, in the Guriat, I hope is the good presentation, is Palitana. That is a city in which, according by municipal law, is vegan, completely vegan. It's impossible to sell meat, to sell eggs, milk, and it doesn't matter because there is a tradition. There are laws, and is vegan. So for us, is a good example how to a urban system could make and establish regulation to avoid animal suffering, to reduce climate change gases, because meat coming from intensive livestock is a source of climate change. And we think that is an example to follow, maybe also in our European countries and all over the world. Law by law, I think that is a trend to establish a good loop and a new kind of urban management. So, key points: using urban agriculture, agroecology, and cooperation with traditional knowledge and biodiversity. I think this is my last speak. I will thank you for this presentation, and I'm coming for the following two interventions, both from Delfina Piu, who is a researcher from Gerush 92, who is discussing about animal farming, and Valentina Jappelli, who is the president of Gerush 92, who is discussing about agroecological parts inside cities. Thank you. I give the floor to my colleagues.
Thank you, Stefano. Anche tu devi schivare, devi stare vicino a me. Ok. Thank you. Ready? Is it mine? May I start?
Yes, go ahead.
A manifesto against intensive animal farming. According to the International Union for Conservation of Nature, the loss of species is attributed primarily to humans' needs and pleasures. For example, the trading of meat, animal skins, furs, feathers, horns, tusks, fins, and blubber. Wild animals are disappearing, and slowly the environments and ecosystems that constitute their home are also changing. For example, wild animals are often forced away from their original habitat, typically because of deforestation for intensive farming practices. Intensive farming is frequently intended for the production of animal feed to maintain the even more sad and painful existence of animals in industrial farms. Tragically, a significant number of wild species live solely with the likely expectation of extinction. Some domesticated animals are raised only to be tortured and eaten. According to the Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN 2020, over 70 billion terrestrial animals are killed every year in industrial animal farms. Most of the meat in the supermarkets and marketplaces is provided by industrial farms. Additionally, industrial farms contribute substantially to climate change, an impact on the environment and human health. Intensive farming also poses serious environmental problems. For example, exploitation of vast agricultural areas intended for the production of feed, about 2/3 of the world's agricultural land. Deforestation for intensive agricultural purposes. Consumption of large quantities of water and energy, use of fertilizer and pesticide made necessary by agricultural monocultures intended for the production of animal feed. Massive use of antibiotics, which causes antibiotic resistance. Production of enormous quantities of waste, manure, responsible for the pollution of groundwater and soil, reduction of biodiversity, and much more. The consumption of meat is also linked to human health and the increase of serious pathologies, such as coronary heart disease. The World Health Organization included packaged meat products to its list of carcinogens. According to FAO in 2006, the processes involved in the livestock sector generate greenhouse gases equivalent to 18% of the total global emissions produced by human activities. But according to Gulen and Hanang of the World Watch Institute, into 2009, seed greenhouse gases equate to 51 of the total global emissions produced by human activities. The livestock sector, however, contributes only to a limited extent of the production of CO2 emissions, only 9%, but is responsible for other important greenhouse gases, 35 to 40% of methane emissions, 65% of nitrogen emissions, and 68% of ammonia emissions, a gas that contributes to the acidification of ecosystems. Methane originating from digestive processes and produced by flotulants and manure is the main factor, contributing to the most significant emission produced by the livestock sector, found in IPCC 2007. The consumption of meat from industrial farms is unsustainable. This is not an ideological affirmation, but rather an objective confirmation. The basis for this assertion is related to the high consumption of water, for watering the animals, for waste disposal, for cleaning the breeding facilities. However, large part of the water, 98%, is used for the cultivation of forage. UNESCO 2010. Industrial farms are also unsustainable, attribute to the continuous and increasing deforestation for the product of forage. Industrial farms contribute also to the spread of infectious diseases that require some farmers to adopt drastic measures to rid themselves of their animals, to cut their operating costs, killing their animals. It would be improper not to mention the large-scale multinationals and countries in the global south that are involved in land dispossessions, rural gentrification of towns and villages, and land grabbing. Often, it is the indigenous people and local communities which are the victim of these practices. A component of providing meat to marketplaces involves a high degree of animal suffering. Slaughterhouses represent the conclusion of a terrifying industrial process, which can commonly be described in the following context, whereby animals are subjected to cramped living spaces and overcrowding, poor quality of air, water, and food, poor hygiene conditions, disturbances to the biological cycle, sleep deprivation, systems of forced reproduction and castration, forced separation of offspring from mothers, system of fattening and forced fasting, massive administration of medicines to artificially promote growth, genetic manipulation, aggressive behavior induced by forced farming methods, preventive mutilation without anesthetic, wounds, sores, and diseases induced by unnatural breeding methods and congenital pathologies, the continuous slaughters of baby calves from consumption, and the cruel condition of transport. To recapitulate, Gerouche 92 has critically examined many aspects of intensive animal farming and food production. This discussion has highlighted how intensive farming contributes to the extensive cruelty to animals and increased global climate change. The intensive production of meat is responsible for enormous suffering to animals and the impact on the environment. Individual responses are not enough. We must act now, together with courage, to ban intensive farming. The decision must be taken now. Gerouche 92 Committee for Human Rights has long been advocating for the abolition of intensive farming and is repeating its request to governments to issue directives to ban intensive farms. Thank you.
Thank you. And hope so. So I give the floor to Valentina.
This is mine.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. The preceding discussion presented focused on intensive farming and its impact on the environment and global climate change. My discussion, a manifesto for vegan cities, will focus on agroecological park and vegan cities. I will begin by describing the linkages between some cities and nearby areas. After that, the discussion will proceed to describing the challenges associated with out-migration from the countryside to urban cities, has exacerbated social and economic problems. Thereafter, the discussion will focus on food waste associated with animal products, which is directly related to cities. Fortunately, there is an emerging sensitivity to the environment, animals, vegan practices, and the related impact on climate change. The emerging interest is associated with millennials and subsequent generations, which we postulate will contribute to reducing animal food waste. The following section will articulate our vision for a sustainable future and how to achieve sustainability through a greater reliance on locally grown short-chain vegetables, fruit, and lessening the current level of meat consumption. The culmination of this discussion ends with an introduction of agroecological parks which interact with cities and nearby areas as a partnership to promote the exchange of agricultural resources. The agroecological park serve to implement traditional agricultural techniques to sustain nearby residents. The parks are envisaged to be developed locally as required and allow for replication everywhere. Problems with cities. The old bond between city and countryside. Over the centuries, cities and their surrounding areas are the result of constant change affected by humans. Until the beginning of the 20th century, cities acquired food and resources from nearby cultivated areas, gardens, and pastures. The surrounding areas were an integral part of the urban landscape. Transformation of urban texture and the constant growth of cities contributed to eroding the former bond between cities and surrounding areas and their sustainability. Transformation of cities and countryside. Cities became defined by large infrastructure which attracted migration and contributed to the abandonment of the countryside. The absence of systematic plans for the development of the countryside has disastrous consequences in terms of abandoned villages, poverty, loss of biodiversity, loss of the agricultural heritage, and increase of floods and landslides. So the cities pay a high price. Higher levels of employment, continuous migration, atmospheric pollution from fuel-burning machinery for heating and transport, overcrowding, land gentrification, meteorological extremes creating floods and or fires during heat waves are representative of problems associated with cities. Globally, over 50% of the population lives in urban areas today. By 2050, it is estimated that more than 70% of the world population will be living in cities, which poses major problems. Food waste associated with animal products. Associated with the continuous growth of cities, many societies are based on the concept of abundance, luxury, and excessive consumption, which contributes significantly to food waste. Each year, approximately 1/3 of all food produced for human consumption in the world is lost or wasted, according to the FAO. The consumption of meat exists everywhere, with some exceptions, whereby vegetables represent the majority of food consumed. However, the opulence of food has become a cultural norm in many societies, which is presented in terms of quality, quantity, and is associated with economic well-being. Food production is one of the major sources of greenhouse gas emissions worldwide. The life cycle and supply chain of animals, proceeding, trading, distribution, and consumption, raised for food contribute significantly to CO2 emissions. The slide shows the greenhouse gas emissions per kilogram of food product. Food emissions vary greatly depending on the products. Red meat typically has the largest carbon footprint. A growing sensitivity towards animals and the environment has led to the adoption of flexitarian, vegetarian, and vegan lifestyles among young adults and of the millennial and subsequent generations. For instance, alternative products of non-meat origin derived from plants, vegetables, or laboratories are emerging. A.T. Kearney Company in 2018 speculates that in just 20 years, at least 60% of meat consumption will no longer come from animals. Additionally, at least 25% of individuals who eat meat today will no longer do so in the future. These combined actions will contribute substantially to reducing the mistreatment of animals, the emission of greenhouse gases, and overall global warming. As such, we, Gerush 92, strongly advocate for the adoption of policies which favor the reduction of meat products and meat byproducts as an integral part of climate change programs. Searching for a sustainable solution. Food is a primary resource. Gerush 92 is searching for a solution to reduce climate change. Individual approaches are not sufficient, as such approaches are influenced by the action of others and the regulation of the market. Gerush 92 opines there is a need for common rules that result in a sustainable vision. The inclusion of food grown in faraway continents and transported to other parts of the world for daily consumption destroys the social, cultural, and economic fabric of communities across the globe. Also, meat produced in laboratory and universal diets contributes negatively to the above. Healthy food reducing climate change. It is well known that consuming a diet of locally grown vegetables with a lower degree of meat contributes to a healthy environment with lower CO2 emissions and increased well-being. Therefore, the solution for reducing global warming and climate change can be identified by consuming foods of plants' origin grown locally, involving so-called short-chain foods, and reducing the consumption of meat. Gerush 92 considers food rules as being specialized, non-universal, which includes endogenous diets with a low environmental or climate impact. Local traditional food rules are quality systems tasted by the experience of centuries, which contribute to development, health, sustainability, and resilience against the risk of climate change. A manifesto for vegan cities, agroecological park against climate change. What is an agroecological park? Countryside surrounds the city and penetrates the peripheries. An agroecological park can be described as a century-old tradition integrating suburban agricultural and urban gardens to sustain residents of nearby villages and cities. An agroecological park is an ecosystem with the purpose to recover, reevaluate, and implement traditional agricultural techniques. Agroecological park can contribute positively to microclimate, pollution, and agricultural production. For the success of an agroecological park, Gerush 92 advocates for a partnership between traditional farmers and modern scientists. Agroecological parks also have several reciprocal functions with nearby cities. For instance, the functions include an agroecological function, a bioeconomic function, a productive social function, a climate function, an educational function, and a recreational function. In very simple terms, these functions contribute to the well-being of residents. To recapitulate, Gerush 92 maintains the best alternative to reverse global warming and climate change is to replace livestock production with an increased production of locally grown short-chain vegetables and fruits while reducing the consumption of meat, which will ultimately lead to a low degree of CO2 emissions and less animal suffering. The agroecological parks would serve to re-establish a direct link between a city, its surrounding areas, and agricultural landscape, which will improve rural employment, reduce pollution, and mitigate the risk of climate change. Parks will foster the adaptation of highly efficient natural systems which promote biodiversity. The parks are envisaged to be developed locally as required and allow for replication everywhere. So we say, replace intensive animal farms with agroecological parks. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Valentina and Delfina. And we can go ahead for the... I manage for you or you manage by yourself? Okay. But I present you. Sorry, we go further in details about our presentation, and I would like to introduce you to Vikrant Srivastava from the Nisarg Foundation. He will speak about regenerative agriculture, just to stay into the theme and the issues of urban system and agriculture, because our organization by chance, not by chance, but because of background, are linked to biodiversity, small farmer production, and eco-villages and urban system. So I give the floor to Vikrant. Please.
Thank you, everyone, first of all, for joining the side event. And I wanted to echo my voice with my colleagues that food is the primary resource. Hi, everyone. Very good morning. My name is Vikrant Srivastava, and I am from India. I am the CEO of Nisarg Foundation. And I'm also a regional focal point for Children and Youth Major Group, which is one of the youth constituency of UNEP. Starting with the problem statement of food agriculture in India right now, and then how we are working in India with Nisarg Foundation, with other of my colleagues, with UVS itself, which promote us to bring the voice on international platform. So coming back where this project lies, it is being in one of the drought state of India, which is Maharashtra, and significantly, it's one of the so-called farmer suicide states of India, where farmers have to give their life for a very small amount of money. It could be 1500 USD. So you can imagine the problem of farmers right now in India, and this increase with the climate change too. More specifically, in India, we are going through the transactions of age. Most of the farmers in India are average 50 years by the 2016 census. But India also represent one of the major youth population all around the world. So this project lies how we promote youth in agriculture, how we build the narrative of youth and fill the gap between youth and agriculture. Apart from aging, we also have been seeing declining interest from the past next generation of this century. And according to Census of India, 2,000 farmer gives up farming each day. So can you imagine 2,000 farmers giving their agriculture land to different corporate or different source of medium to just to earn and giving their basic primary source of income? Soil depletion, we already know that this is a new world of nuclear where we are using more pesticides, chemical fertilizers to result in significant amount of increase in food and so, but this also causing in soil depletion, reducing crop production and so. A quick brief on India highlights 50% of country's workforce is directly or indirectly connected with agriculture. 44% is directly affected with agriculture, and it also compromises 15% of India's gross domestic products. That is a huge contribution by agriculture to India. And then we are some of the largest producers also in milk, pulse, and spices, and so. And again, we just crossed China, so congratulations on that. But we also have this thing to do, which means that we also have to provide healthy food and food security for more than 1.4 billion people. That gives more stress with the climate change itself, that we have to feed people, more people to feed, but also with healthy food and with proper nutrition. So we started a project in Pune, and this project is taking place in around 7 acres of regenerative agriculture farming, where we have collaborated with 5 small and marginalized farmers in process to mitigating climate change affected by carbons atmosphere in soils and plant. And one of the main target is, like I already said, to connect and to target youngster and farmers from rural village from 18 to 14, and how practice in farming have been less, it's less than 1 lakh, and then how we can promote it to bring this up on a global scale, and also how to promote this on a national scale, that how important food is and how, because it's like I already said, it's a primary objectives of India and primary workforce of India. So how we are doing this project, let me give you a quick brief on this too. So with the young farmers, we are working on a project called regenerative agriculture farming. We have set up in 7 hectares of land, and we are working on a model where we are promoting a workforce of local youth, where we are connecting them with the modern technology, with other outsourced resource to let them know to adapt what's going on and how we can use less fertilizer, less pesticides, and to use natural methodology to go more organic. So impact, we have till now, we in the terms of impact, we have set up more than 2,000 sapling, and in the picture you can see an oval shaped nursery. We have collaborated with few of the local institutions, those who created this oval shaped nursery. I'm not sure you have seen this type of nursery or not, but this is a very unique in its nature. It receives 50% of sunlight during daytime, and it's also very flexible in nature. You can just, it takes 1 or 2 days. You can just move all the nursery's outer layer to a different location. So it's also sustainable. So within the youth in agriculture, we are promoting a concept called Agro Ranger brand ambassador. Agro is in terms of agriculture, and Ranger is, you already know Rangers. So we are creating Agro Ranger concept where we convince farmer and the consumer of the benefits of regenerative organic farmer. And this model also serves as a training center for farmers and youngster to convey various aspects of regenerative organic farmer. And with this farming institute which we have created in India, we are promoting the rainwater harvest system to recharge groundwater, agroforestry system with the dry farming techniques, and some compost factory to build soil health, and some eco-friendly training space. We have done more than 100 eco-friendly training session with how to use the solar livelihood products within the agriculture itself. On a broader impact, we are working on to improve soil health and how this could leads to better on soil water holding capacity, how we can work on to improve soil quality for producer healthy food, like I already said. And within this campaign, we are also promoting nutrition fact value because in whole Asia Pacific, except Singapore, we don't have any framework to promote nutrition fact in any foods and resources. So within this campaign, we are also trying to focus how we can bring this concept in Asia Pacific within India itself. So farmers will also be ensured with this campaign that their income is stored. We have this rule in India that to go organic, you have to leave the land for the 3 years, and then you have to start using that. So we have also collaborated with some of the insurance companies so that this farmer is benefited when their land is not being used, and also how we can support the farmers' income, livelihood with against climate change. So these are some of the goals we are running in parallel with the projects. Again, quality education. We are also referring this with agriculture, women and gender, indigenous population in that specific area. Call to action, like we have said, we are looking for more people to collaborate with us on Asia Pacific specific so that we can promote nutrition fact, healthy global nutrition, and how we can foster our collaboration in promoting regenerative agriculture, and how we can promote and innovate financial mechanisms into this, and how we can build more capacity and improve our competitiveness. Yeah, this is just to get in touch. If you want to get in touch with us and with Nisarg Foundation, it will be great for us to learn from you too. But we are also looking for some of the collaboration where we can expand our knowledge, and also we can expand this organic structure in promotion of food and agriculture. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Vikrant. We have other two interventions, and I give the floor to our first virtual speaker, who is the president of Universal Versatile Society, and his presentation, and the title of his presentation is very inspiring. Renew Digital Village After COVID and Rouse Vegan Soul of the Youth. So I give the floor to Mr. Narayan. Thank you. I hope everything is going well. It works.
Thank you so much. Okay, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, my dear colleagues. I am Narayan Solanke, the president of Universal Versatile Society. It's my pleasure to join the event virtually from India. Today, my speech title is Renew Digital Village After COVID and Rose Vegan Souls of the Youth. Put digital pulse into agri-food system in line with FAO strategies to ace climate resilience. My speech will focus on identifying the cross-cutting issues in the agriculture faced by Indian farmers in Vidarbha region, and introducing cost-effective archetypes that has been applied to experimental fields and demonstrated as a great success for further widespread duplication in the global south. Two undergoing flagship programs run by UVS are a research hub-based mental health program and digitalized eco-village program. From this presentation, you will learn the concept and progressive achievements made for robust agri-food system to reshape a more sustainable climate. Meanwhile, it is also a terrific opportunity to exchange thought on social mobilization for employing youth leadership, women empowerment, capacity building in the establishment of vegan cities. At last, future goals will be highlighted to advance cultural diversity, young vegan advocacy, and rural electrification in eco-village. Yeah, next slide, please. Okay, previous one. Okay. So our organization is an Indian NGO founded in 2005 in special consultative status with UN ECOSOC, UNEP, and UNCCD. With state government support, US has taken the lead in climate change capacity building, then education equity, public health, and women empowerment, other thematic areas of 17 SDGs by mobilizing global social resource for years. After thousands of efforts made to ensure climate stakeholder a better off life in agriculture, UVS is running two flagship programs accredited by UNEP and FAO, which namely are Research Hub-based Mental Health Program and Digitalized Eco-Village Program respectively. For starters, speaking of mental health program, the first astounding truest fact I would love to share with you is India will surpass China as world's most populous country by mid-year as per UN statistics. According to UN Population Fund, State of World Population Report for 2023, India's population as projected will reach 1.4286 billion, outnumbering China by 2.9 million. It's truly happening. What does that mean? The dramatic increase in fertility rate is strongly connected to the welfare of nationals. So, third slide, please. Yeah, Research Hub-based Mental Health Program. think it is next one. Okay. As a representative amongst other voicing for Global South in agriculture sector, I have led a team of global talent to bring about the research hub short mental health program as UN volunteers in coordination with academic institution from Latin America. Okay, this is how our research journey started. Vidarbha region in Maharashtra state is an agriculture intensive region which has witnessed high farmer suicide rates for years. Poverty, insufficient government aid, unstable climatic condition such as water scarcity, droughts, and other impact factors have jointly led to a soar of farmer suicide. We suspect that approximately 8,500 farmers died of suicide between 2016 to 29, while no press release have ever reported the real number. Lack of information transparency and access to information, hypothetically the figures may have been higher than anticipation, so that the corresponding risks keep upsurging. Without preventive approaches and detective methods, we confront the rise in environmental and cultural crisis along with the depression and suicide rate year by year. This project aims to shed the light on enhancement of mental health condition through care and rehabilitation services offered to the farmers. The program has been designed to amplify awareness, make assessments, and to enable the adaptation of intervention for advancing mental health. Obstructions encountered have been broken down into 4 phases in order to prevent suicide tendencies in villages and induce resilience to economic, social, and cultural problems in the long term, the long run. So next slide now. Digitalized Eco Village program. As for the second program, it's necessary to re-emphasize the term eco-city. Eco-city was firstly coined by Richard Register in 1987 book Eco-City Berkeley in the context of organization called urban ecology. With time passing by the business modes getting more diverse, the conception has been treated as truism and morphed into digital village driven by AI integrated system and 4G plus bandwidth network. The 1,000 Digital Village Initiative, that is DVI, plan rolled out by FAO in Asia Pacific region is to promote digital innovations to rural communities, enabling economic livelihood, individual well-being, and social cohesion in its real sense. As we can observe, what has been reiterated in the headlines, digital village agriculture technology, unmanned aerial vehicles applications, C2C and D2C collaboration, move to upgrade value chain of agri-food transformation system, all of them are telling us one story. And that is modernizing rural villages in developing countries has been the red hot mission coincidentally. India has been championing information and communication technology as a driver for growth in region since 2015. In November 2015, India offered $1 billion US dollar credit line to promote projects that support physical and digital connectivity between India and Asian countries. In 2016, India proposed setting up a regional high-capacity optical fiber network, national rural broadband network, digital villages in rural and remote areas, and capacity building programs. In October 2019, India planned to build 100,000 digital villages in next 5 years. Unfortunately, the ambition was almost melted in the thin air owing to COVID-19. To reignite the plan and answer the call of FAO's 4 better pillar, that is better production, better nutrition, better environment, and better life, leaving no one behind, UV Society partook in 2021 Global Agri-Inno Challenge and was selected as a finalist out of 157 teams from 35 countries. The program was also launched to enable STEM women's participation in agriculture, empower youth leadership, to dive into disruptive resolution, and raise awareness of veganism amongst young people. While constraint on traveling were lifted gradually at home and abroad, the previous endeavors made will be carried forward for rejuvenating rural areas. China has disseminated its plan to narrow the urban-rural divide through data-driven platforms to strengthen the network beyond borders. Likewise, to remove the obstacles caused by COVID and reconnect the isolated dots in rural villages, India villages in Maharashtra have gone offline daily to help people. Establishing eco-villages promoted by powerful and user-friendly AI system is an generational topic. The youth potential to become KOLs in calling and leading vegetarian groups is huge for greener vegan city. To achieve this, we need to mobilize all the kinds of social resources to carry out the plan. I request next slide, please. Okay. So future goals and recommendations to further our core ideology and achieve vegan cities using collective efforts. I'd like to announce the following project that will be implemented within a global network. Vikrant, as just now he talked, the CEO of Nisarg Foundation is one of our experienced advisor in agriculture and climate capacity building. We plan to work out resolutions on efficient electrification and better plastic management for regenerative agriculture. Meantime, partnering with Wikifarmer, that is originator of e-marketplace and online library for farmers as open resources syndication will greatly benefit broader users in global community on the topic of climate action, food security, and environmental governance. Last but not least, to separate the wheat from chaff, how to combine the advantages of nature-based and technology-assured approaches in coordination with First Nation to tackle climate crisis facing farmers. How to transform meat eaters into vegan will be the trending in next few decades. So thank you so much for listening. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Narayan. I would like to add one point that maybe in the Western world, the education to be vegan or to become vegan is not very widespread. It's very interesting, your idea to educate people, especially youth people, to the importance to be vegan, not only for climate change solution, but also to avoid animal suffering, but also suffering for farmers. Because if we are becoming vegan, maybe the most important problem in agriculture, especially in India, mental problem could be alleviated or solved. Now, and so thank you, very, very, very inspiring presentation, and I take care of that. And now I give the floor, last but not least, to Nicolás Domke Venegas, or Venegas, I don't know the correct pronunciation, who is a member of International Forestry Student Association and member of FAO subcommission. I hope is could be online. Is okay?
Yes, I think it's okay.
Yes, we have a quarter hour, and maybe I give you maybe 10 minutes, and if they are a short question, and for final remark and recommendation. So we have 15 minutes to conclude the side event. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Stefano, and I think my intervention will be shorter. And first of all, I would like to thanks to the organizers to invite me. As you said, my name is Nicolás Domke Venegas. I am connecting from Chile. I am engineer in plant biotechnology, and I am currently finishing my master in forestry science. As you said, I am part of IPSA in 5 countries to 140 local committees. So I am currently the president of my local committee based in the University of Concepcion in the south of Chile, and also the current head of the FAO's Commission into our international structure. So besides that, together with Vikrant, I share a position into the Youth Policy Board of the World Food Forum, such that is a space facilitated by FAO in order to promote the youth participation in the global discussions regarding to the transformation of the agri-food system. So the perspective that I want to bring to this conversation is about the role of the use of new biotechnology techniques and how they can help us to design this future that we all imagine, a future with more sustainable and environmentally friendly food system. So I bring this perspective through my master thesis, which is focused on the factors that affect the success and development of new biotechnology companies. So consider biotechnology, this modern biotechnology considers techniques such as the in vitro tissue culture and others more controversial has a gene editing or gene transformations, which are possible thanks to the advance on molecular biology and our knowledge into that discipline. So consider the great variety of products that can be obtained from the application of biotechnology, where we can consider new plant varieties obtained from this transformation technique or gene editing. I am going to refer to the products called biostimulant. So this biostimulant is any substance, and I am referring to and I quote the definition, is referring to any system or microorganism applying to plants with the aim to enhance nutrition, efficiency, abiotic stress tolerance, um, and also crop quality traits regardless and in nutrient content. So within this category of product, we can consider biopesticides, biofertilizers, and others. So the aim of this to bring this product to the markets is replace product of agrochemical origin, which are a crucial part that must be changed in our food system. Globally. For example, has a region of Latin America and Caribbean, and due to the war between Russia against Ukraine, we suffer shortages in the production chain of these agrochemical products, which left many farmers in the region in a difficult situation. This made evident the need of generate regional capabilities for the production of products has such as the biostimulants and be able to support these farmers. So due to the biological origin of these biostimulants, they can be used in organic agriculture. And thus be part of this sustainable agriculture that through biotechnology makes sustainable use of our biodiversity. It's important to know that are some region regarding to the efficiency of these biostimulants. So these products are always better, and the production rates are always better in the country in which the this biostimulant was origin from. For example, if we have a farm in Chile, another farm in Costa Rica and Colombia, and we have products biostimulant from these 3 countries, the Chilean biostimulant will be better in the Chilean soil, and also the Costa Rican biostimulant will better in the Costa Rican soil, and that is why. And that is because this biodiversity recognize their environment. So this microorganism has bacteria or fungi are better adapted to their environment in these different soil or countries. So again, that is why it's important to develop these national capabilities to produce this kind of products. So we must bear in mind that these companies that produce this biostimulant are strongly based on research and development. So there are companies that base their business model on new knowledge generated through science. So in all the cases that I study, these companies have scientists, many of them with PhD among the founding members, as well as professionals with knowledge on management and administration. So these companies require a support ecosystem that considers collaboration between universities, incubators, accelerator, investment fund, and other. And it's important to recognize the public role and the role of the state, the role that the state played among these support ecosystem, because at least in the case of Chile, many of these actors has an incubator and accelerator, as I mentioned, are originally supported by public fund. So it's the state and the public fund that have to be have to have in mind that they are trying to what kind of companies they are trying to promote, and how these companies that, for example, can produce biostimulant, how can be one of these kind of companies. So again, there are companies strongly based on science, but at the same time, and with the application of biotechnology, are helping to create this more sustainable agricultural system. And also bring us to the application of the biotechnology, and also be put out of the bad box, for example, the use of these technologies, because I know that I'm being a plant biotechnologist. I know about the rejection again of the GMO products or new vegetable varieties obtained through the transformation of the application of transformation techniques. But this other kind of product has a biostimulant, are also part of the application of these technologies, but not strictly have to consider the use of gene editing or another more controversial biotechnology techniques, but at the same time can be used and can be used as a way to utilize our biodiversity in a more sustainable way. So I want to leave some space for question and comments, also with the other invited speaker, because this, I think maybe for this topic we can have different opinions. So I will give you the floor again to you, Stefanos, to see if we have some comment and also some interaction among the other participants. Thank you again for having me here.
Thank you. I would like to know if there is one or two questions coming to the floor, or from the floor, or I'm coming back to the final recommendation and remarks. No question? Everything is clear?
Thank you. Mirko Klein from Bread for the World. I was just wondering, the examples that you gave about the agroecological cities and parks, because according to the slides, you've shown some examples from Rome, Havana, and Buenos Aires. Do you have experience in actively approaching local governments in order to convince them? I'm also asking because now, being in Germany, if you talk about vegan and then these kind of, a lot of people talk about they want to prohibit the consumption of meat, so there's a lot of rejection. But I assume you also have had positive experience with some governments actually appreciating those kind of initiatives, and whether you could give some recommendation on how to actively
to give a short answer about that. Of course, they are our idea of agroecological parks and electrical cities as COBASE and Gerush 92, but I think we are all agree that cities and small cities will be in the future more sustainable as far as there are many initiatives and examples, but all the initiatives are a small part of a big picture of the project. Maybe some cities is more oriented using agriculture. Some other are more oriented to use good transportation. Others are more electrical. The problem is the combination of this element: efficiency in energy, efficiency in agriculture inside city and agriculture outside city. Try to avoid and to skip the idea that agriculture, the most of part of agriculture, will be, and it is, dedicated to feed animals, not people. That is the problem. The keep veganism to vegetarian food to enhance sustainability through using vegetarian food. That is improving. Is improving maybe in the consciousness of the government, but also in the consciousness of the youth people. It's very interesting to have a project that is focused on education of veganism. Education of veganism means that cities are spreading ideas, are spreading movements, and maybe youth people could be the new generation to be more sustainable than the older one. I don't know if there are other...
In Argentina, comparing with Chile, in Argentina we have a strongly province governments that elect their regional authorities. But in the case of Chile, we just elect these regional authorities for the first time 2 years ago. So if you want to promote veganism or agroecological application system through this subnational legislation or government instrument or architecture, it's important to keep in mind this different that at least in Latin America we have. And also some countries are strongly centralized. In Chile, for example, we have just 2 main cities, and in other countries that are smaller and have another also landscape, and they are geographically distinct, that Chile can have smaller cities, and they are not too centralized as Chile, for example. So yeah,
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. There are other questions, or one, or I'm coming from the final, because there are other side event coming. I just go shortly about some points. Recommendation is promote eco-friendly, sustainable, and organic farming in local communities. Elevation of suffering from problems such as crop yields, decreased profit, poor soil, and suicide. We must establish a regenerative agricultural development campaign, enhance interdependence between economy and ecology, increasing biological and cultural diversity in the urban system, achieving social and environmental equity, creating agroecological and eco-productive parks, designing accessible city using circular bioeconomy. In a short, very short term, we hope that future cities in the future should be, must be, have to be able to feed themselves. Thank you for your attendance. So the final document in a longer way. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.